Rosa Parks, her influence then and now. Rosa Louise Macaulay Parks was born on February 4, 1913. She grew up in Montgomery County where the Ku Klux Klan was moving through after World War I. Her grandfather kept a shotgun near himself in the home at all times. He feared for the family's safety, so he prepared himself for self-defense. As a child, she expressed to her grandmother that she felt like herself and other blacks were all, and I quote, puppets on the string in the white man's hand, end quote, and that, and I quote, we perform to their satisfaction or suffer the consequence if we get out of line, end quote. In her 20s, Rosa, an activist by this time, married another activist, Raymond Parks. Together they defended the Scottsboro Boys, a group of 9 black men who had been wrongfully charged with raping 2 white women. In her own independent work as an activist, Parks also fought towards justice for black female rape victims of white men who were never charged for their crimes. One of the women she helped was Recy Taylor. Taylor was kidnapped by 6 white men while she was walking home from her church late one night. They forced her into the car and drove off into the woods. One of the men spread a coat on the ground and ordered Recy to lay down, otherwise he would kill her. Each man took turns raping her, and when they were done, they forced her back into the car. While they were driving, they blindfolded Recy Taylor and dropped her off on the side of the road. In response to Taylor's experience, Parks created the Committee for Equal Justice. She gained support from many of the locals and several across the nation. However, when tried in court, 2 all-white grand juries refused to press charges on the men accused. Furthermore, the justice system failed Recy Taylor. Several years later, on December 1, 1955, Parks, a department store seamstress at the time, boarded a bus and sat in the middle section after not being able to find an open seat in the back. At the time, buses were segregated, and the blacks were to sit in the back and whites in the front. As the bus began to fill up, a white man boarded the bus and could not find an available seat. The bus driver turned around, stood up, and approached Parks. He ordered her to move seats, but she refused. He threatened to call the police, and she calmly replied, "You may do that." After her arrest, society became aware of the situation, and blacks refused to ride the public buses in Montgomery, Alabama. Even on the rainiest days, they chose to walk. The bus business almost failed, until finally on December 21, 1956, the U.S. Supreme Court abolished segregation, marking the end of the boycott. Upon riding the bus for the first time in over a year, Parks sat in the front seat, and the bus driver was the same man who had called the police on her before. His name was James Blake. After her release, Parks revealed in an interview the emotions she felt the day she was arrested. She described it as one of the worst days of her life, and that she felt forgotten by the world. But deep down, she felt that God was with her, and it was her faith in Him that kept her strong. And I quote, "Many ask whether I am discouraged in the struggle for justice, peace, and harmony. My answer has always been no. My strength has always come from the church." End quote. Decades after the Montgomery bus boycott, Parks struggled traveling back and forth between hospitals, visiting her husband, her mother, and her brother. All 3 were battling different forms of cancer, and ultimately both her husband Raymond and her brother Sylvester died in the same year of 1977. Life was hard for the next couple of years as Parks struggled to care for her mother and also for herself. She began to have heart problems, and her mother, Leona, passed away in 1979. Rosa Parks herself passed away on October 24, 2005, at the age of 92. Her burial lies in Detroit, next to her husband Raymond, who died nearly 3 decades earlier. Her memorial services were made public, and tens of thousands of Americans gathered to pay their respects. On February 27, 2013, then President Barack Obama, along with leaders of Congress, unveiled a bronze statue of Rosa Parks at the U.S. Capitol. It stands at 9 feet tall and portrays her sitting on a bus seat, looking forward with her purse clutched at her side. In a biography of Parks, a few words from Rosa herself describe how she would have wanted others to reminisce about her. And I quote, "I would like to be remembered as one who has always cared for people. I have always wanted to help people in need. I have always been very sympathetic for those people who need someone to care." End quote. I chose to do my semester-long research project on Rosa Parks because she is one of the most known influential figures in African American history. Although she is mostly known for inspiring the Montgomery bus boycott, she did so much more work as an activist to fight for equality and justice. It was never her intention to become an icon and adored by many. All she wanted was to help others, and it is for her selflessness, kindness, courage, and determination that I admire her and enjoyed learning so much more about her.